Welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Emedion James coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu appoints Olumode as new Controller General. Governor Moino reaffirms commitment to education as pillar of Akwa Ibom's development agenda. Plus, French government prepares new law to return colonial era art. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in just a moment. For joining us, we begin from the national scene where President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Deputy Controller General Olumode Samuel as the new Controller General of the Federal Fire Service effective August 14, 2025. The Civil Defense, Correctional, Fire and Immigration Services Board made the announcement in a statement signed by its Secretary, Major General A.M. Jibrin, on behalf of the President today. The CDCFIB noted that Olumode brings a wealth of experience to the role, having transferred from the FCT Fire Service to the Federal Fire Service and rising to the position of Deputy Controller General in charge of human resources at the service headquarters. Olumode is also a member or fellow of several professional bodies, including the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, the Institute of Corporate Administration of Nigeria, the Institute of Public Administration of Nigeria, and the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management of Nigeria. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has directed the immediate employment of over 200 National Youth Service Corps honorees into the Federal Civil Service. The President also announced a 250,000 Naira cash award for the 200 honorees in recognition of the outstanding service during the 2020-2023 service years. This is as President Tinubu showed empathy to 10 physically challenged former court members who sustained varying degrees of disability while serving. He also directed that they should be offered federal employment and assuring them that the government would never forget their sacrifice. The President, represented by the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha, at the combined President NYSC Annual Award Ceremony in Abuja, celebrated the awardees for their discipline, commitment, selflessness, teamwork, patriotism and integrity, while assuring the honorees that the head of Civil Service of the Federation and the chairman of the Federal Civil Service Commission will immediately begin their employment process. The Director General of National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, Brigadier General Olakunde Nafiu, in his remarks, lauded the contributions of Nigerian youth to the nation's progress. Away from that, the federal government has officially launched a Leadership Excellence in Africa's Public Service program aimed to redefine leadership within the public sector. With the launch, Nigeria joins Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Kenya, Senegal, and Zimbabwe in a continental initiative designed to foster visionary, ethical, and innovative leadership in the governance. The program, driven by the African Capacity Building Foundation, responds to the growing demand for transformative leadership across African public institutions. Speaking at the event, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Linda Jifaye, represented by the Deputy Director International Development Fund, Ibrahim Matazu, highlighted the significance of the program, noting that it is intended to nurture a new generation of transformative leaders. She emphasized that the public service remains a cornerstone of governance, responsible for implementing policies and delivering services that impact millions. From the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives Committee on China-Nigerian Parliamentarian Relations has launched an investigation into a viral video showing some Nigerians in the Central African Republic alleging abandonment and passport seizure by a Nigerian businessman perpetuatedly linked to a Chinese company. It will be recalled that in the widely circulated video, the affected Nigerians expressed their grievances, claiming they were hired by a purported Chinese company in Nigeria, only to be taken to the Central African Republic, where they were left without pay and had their international passports withheld. However, in a statement by the Chairman's Committee, Jafura Yakubu, the committee assured that a thorough investigation will be conducted to uncover the truth behind the allegation to investment in education, as it is central to the development blueprint of his administration. The governor gave the assurance when the board of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, led by its chairman Aminu Bello Masari, paid a courtesy visit to him in Government House, Uyo. He said his administration has thus far focused more on primary education and has built model primary schools across the 31 local government areas in the state. Beyond the structures, he said the government had provided school uniforms, books, shoes and bags for the pupils to encourage learning, stressing that his government will continue to focus on education as a critical component of the RISE agenda. Announcing that government will soon flag off model secondary schools, the governor assured that his administration will stop at nothing to ensure quality and qualitative education for Akwa Ibom children. Governor Eno said the State Executive Council meeting was extended to accommodate the courtesy visit given the strategic importance of the state and appreciated tax fund for the support to tertiary education in the state and Akwa Ibom State University, AKSU in particular. He also appreciated Senator Udoma, a former pro-chancellor of the State University, for his remarkable contributions to the development of the state, describing him as a perfect gentleman with innumerable impact across the state. The governor, who appealed for more support in the development of tertiary institutions in the state, assured the board of continuous partnership and assurance of a conducive environment for hosting their annual retreat in the state. He used the opportunity to commiserate with Masari, a former governor of Katsina State, over the death of his close ally and leader, the late President Muhammadu Buhari, and prayed for God to grant him rest. Earlier, Masari has said the Way project at AKSU, saying they were even more delighted than the recipient institutions to have their project completed and commissioned. He commended the governor for his development strides, the peaceful ambience and hospitality they enjoyed since arrival, saying the board has agreed to host its annual retreat in the state. Government House correspondent Jen Uwa reports that on his part, the Vice-Chancellor of Akwa Ibom State University, Professor Nse Sien, said the board commissioned a very important project, including the Faculty of Biological Science Building, Faculty of Physical Science Building, Faculty of Engineering, Phase 1 Building, Faculty of Management Science Building, among others. Essien, who acknowledged that the university had benefited immensely from tax fund, expressed optimism that his team's visit to the governor will yield more dividends to the state. Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State government has approved the State Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper for 2026 to 2028 in accordance with Section 18 of the State Fiscal Responsibility Law. The State Commissioner for Information, Anyeka Numana, disclosed this while briefing Government House correspondent shortly after the state meeting presided over by Governor Olumode. He also noted that the approval was given following the presentation by the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Linus Nkang, adding that the three-year indicative framework based on market assumptions is to be forwarded to the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly for legislative action. According to him, the Executive Council, as a follow-up to the presentation by the Ministry of Finance, deliberated on the report on harmonization of the IGR Treasury single account and approved the formal adoption of TSA policy to enhance revenue efficiency, block leakages and promote transparency, also noting that the TSA platform, Akwa Remit, alongside the state land management platform, Akwakis, are scheduled for official launch on September 1st, 2025. Also, Council resolved to ensure the continued maintenance of the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium and ratify the Finance and General Purpose Committee memo on the renewal of maintenance contract with Julius Berger plc for an additional one term effective July 1st, 2025. He noted that Council also considered and approved an FGPC memo from the Commissioner for Finance and Supervising Commissioner for Special Duties and Ibom Deep Sea Port on additional works at a wet luxury exit occasioned by topographical challenges and revised architectural design for the project. Government House correspondent Jen Owa reports that as part of efforts to consolidate their rice food security program, Council considered a report from the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and approved the commencement of Phase 3 of the free food distribution program across the 31 local government areas beginning August 20, 2025. We move now to Africa, where a deadly assault on a military base in Dago, northern Burkina Faso, has reportedly left around 50 soldiers dead. Reports say about 100 militants stormed the base, killing troops before looting and setting it ablaze. According to the report, the armed group Jamaat Nasser al-Islam wal Muslimni, or JIMD, is suspected of carrying out the attack. Burkina Faso continues to battle an escalating security crisis as armed groups now control large swaths of the country, especially in rural regions far from the capital. Still in Africa, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has announced that he will run for a fourth term in October's election. In a statement, the 83-year-old said his health was not an issue and his candidacy was driven by a need to preserve national stability and ongoing security and economic challenges. Ouattara argues a new constitution approved in 2016 reset his two-term limit, meaning he is allowed to stand. Meanwhile, he will be the polls front-runner as several potential challengers have already been barred from the race. On the foreign scene, the first wave triggered by a massive 8.8 earthquake off Russia's coast have reached the shores of U.S. states Hawaii and California. The earthquake, which hit near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula at about 11:25 a.m. local time today, is believed to be one of the worst and most powerful ever recorded. Russian authorities have evacuated the town of Zavarokulitsky where the said 4 meters waves flooded the port and a fish processing facility. According to Japan's weather agency, 1.9 million people have been told to evacuate, and a tsunami wave of 4.3 feet have reached the northern Iwate prefecture. Still on the foreign scene, France's government today discussed a bill designed to speed up the return of artworks looted during the colonial era to their countries of origin. According to the Culture Ministry, if approved, the law will make it easier for the country to return cultural goods in France's national collection originating from states that, due to illicit appropriation, were deprived of them between 1815 and 1972. The ministry added that it will cover works obtained through theft, looting, transfer, or donation obtained through coercion or violence, or from a person who was not entitled to dispose of them. Still to come in the news. NBA to play 2026 regular season games in London, Berlin. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. On our business news, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has upgraded its forecast for Nigeria's economic growth for both 2025 and 2026. The new forecasts were announced in its World Economy Outlook July 2025 edition. It upgraded its forecast for Nigeria's economic growth to 3.4% in 2025. The new forecast represents 0.4 percentage points from the 3.0% forecast of the IMF in April this year. The fund also raised its forecast for the country's economic growth from 2026 to 3.2%, representing 0.5 percentage points from 2.7% in April. It also gave an upward revision of the forecast for global economic growth to 3.0% for 2025 and 3.1% for 2026. Still in business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has reiterated that its early exit package implemented in 2024 was entirely voluntary and not intended to target or destabilize nationals working at the Appoints Bank. The bank's Deputy Governor on Economic Policy, Mohammed Abdullahi, restated this today in Kaduna at the two-day interactive session on government citizens engagement organized by the Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation. Speaking during plenary on governance and economy, Abdullahi said the bank was congested at its headquarters in Abuja and had made an offer to anyone interested in exiting, but with a substantial package. Abdullahi said the Appoints Bank has been practicing early exit in the last 20 years, but that it had been done with when the management at the top is very heavy. On our health news, nurses under the AICs of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Federal Health Institution Sector, have commenced a 7-day warning strike today, despite appeals by the federal government. The union said the action, which began at midnight, became necessary following the expiration of a 15-day ultimatum issued on 14 July 2025, demanding improved welfare, fair allowances and better working conditions for nurses across federal health institutions. The national chairman of NAM, Morakinyo Real1, stated that the federal government failed to engage meaningfully with the association during the window provided. The nurses' demands include the upgrade of shift allowances, adjustment of uniform allowance, implementation of a separate salary structure for nurses, increased court duties allowance, mass employment of nurses, and the creation of a dedicated nursing department in the Federal Ministry of Health. Still in health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) says 152 people have died from Lassa fever as of date in 2025. In its latest situation report, the NCDC confirmed that the number of new cases recorded in week 28 remained unchanged from the previous week. It said the latest new infections were reported from Ondo, Edo, and Benue State. These represent a case fatality rate of 18.7%, which is higher than the 17.3% recorded during the same period in 2024. According to the health agency, the majority of confirmed Lassa fever cases this year were concentrated in 5 states. We move now to sports, where Luis Diaz says he fulfilled his duty at Liverpool after completing a £65.5 million move to Bundesliga champion Bayern Munich. The Colombia international has signed a 4-year deal with the German club to bring his 3.5-year stay at Anfield to an end. The 28-year-old was left out of Liverpool's pre-season match against AC Milan on Saturday because of speculation over his future. Having rejected Bayern's opening offer of £58.6 million earlier this month, Liverpool accepted a follow-up bid of £65.5 million over the weekend and granted Diaz permission to have a medical with the club. The winger leaves the Reds as a Premier League champion, having won 4 pieces of major silverware during his time at the club. Still in sport, the governing body of National Basketball Association (NBA) has announced today that the NBA will play regular season matches in London and Berlin in the 2025 to 2026 campaign. The Memphis Grizzlies and the Orlando Magic will face each other in Berlin on January 15, 2026, and again in London 3 days later. NBA Europe Managing Director George Avizioglou said the decision to move the matches reflects the incredible momentum and appetite for NBA basketball in France, Germany, the UK, and across the region. The NBA pledged to play 6 regular season matches in Europe in the coming 3 seasons. On entertainment news, U.S. President Donald Trump is seriously considering a pardon for embattled music mogul Sean Combs, who is currently in Brooklyn jail awaiting sentencing after a partial conviction in his high-profile criminal trial. Combs, 55, was acquitted earlier this month of most serious charges, sex trafficking and racketeering, but was found guilty of 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution. He is scheduled to be sentenced on October 3 and faces up to 10 years in prison. Attorney John Kofus, who recently met with members of Trump's pardon team, including activist Alice Maria Johnson and former interim U.S. Attorney Ed Martins, said the case raises questions about government overreach, an issue Trump has increasingly emphasized. And that's all we have for you at this time. To ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. I am Emedion James, and you've been watching Spectrum News at 4. Do enjoy the rest of now.